Hello, my name is Eddy. I'm originally from Arizona, lived in Florida for a couple decades before coming to Panama. For quite some time, my family was thinking of getting more rural and getting out in the country, being able to grow things, and we looked at some different places in the United States, and we also considered overseas, and we felt that there was an added benefit for if anything goes downhill in the U.S. to have a Plan B type property somewhere else, just to have a second citizenship, learning a second language for us and for our children. That's as valuable as a college degree. And so we saw a lot of benefits to having that second residency, and we looked into Panama, and so we came down here looking to get a little place but still go back to the United States, but we ended up liking it here and decided to stay, and so we've been here ever since. There's a lot of things to like about Panama, and people can focus on things like the weather. It's an eternal spring here. The cost of living is not bad at all. It's a very beautiful country, lots of greenery, hills, some mountains. Able to get a lot of fresh food here. It's just less polluted. There's not industry here like in the States. So just from a perspective of someone who wants to get away from poisoned air, poisoned food, poisoned water, there's a lot of opportunities for that here in Panama, especially in Chiriqui. It's a very family-friendly culture as well. The people are very laid back. In a lot of ways it reminds me of the United States in the 1980s or 90s, just an earlier, simpler time. So the same thing I like about it brings some disadvantages as well. I like how it is laid back, it's simpler, it's almost like you're going back in time in some ways, in a good way. But it can be more difficult to get information here. It's very important to make connections and have people who've gone through the process that can help you, because in the US, if you want to get an answer to something, you just type it in Google and there's dozens of websites with information. Here it can be very difficult to find information. A lot of the places here don't have websites, or they're not really updated. Sometimes there's not a phone number to call, or if there is, it's difficult to get a hold of anyone that'll answer your questions. So you have to be patient here. Things don't happen quickly. They will happen. Everything that you need to get accomplished, you will. But if you're one of those people that has to have it your way right now, it's not going to fly here. We have what's called a mañana culture, which means tomorrow in Spanish. And so again, it's very laid back. There's a time frame here and a way things are done that's different than the United States, and if you're not in a rush, you'll fit right in. But if you are, you're going to struggle at least at first as you're getting everything set up. So building a house in Panama was a very interesting experience. I had not done that before. We had a experienced construction manager who had built many homes before. He did not speak English, but he'd worked with a lot of English speakers in the past. And so he understood, the kinds of questions we had, and knew a little bit of English. And my Spanish was good enough that we could communicate just fine. When it comes to building a house here, you'll want to be present on the project as much as possible, and to really pay attention to and emphasize details that are important to you. Because you'll find in Panama things that in the United States you might think are unacceptable. Here might just not be a big deal to people. I mean, just to give you a general example, they might hang a door that's a little bit crooked, but it can still close, and so they think, well, it works, it's fine, and they'll just leave it. But you might come in and not find that to be acceptable. So it's something where the more you can communicate specifically what you want, and then to watch as they're doing it to make sure if anything's done wrong, it can be corrected. I would say that is the main thing. I wouldn't be concerned otherwise. They build houses here. I've never seen one fall over. So I think some of the safety measures here are even stronger than in the United States, I've heard. And a lot of times it can be very similar. If you find a builder and up front you get clarification on exactly what they're going to make for you, you can get something built to your standards. But just be careful for the details. I would say if you can find a good painter, someone that's very careful, if you're going to have them paint your house, if you're not going to do it yourself, definitely look for a good painter, because they can be sloppy with things like that. Again, just the details is what you really have to pay attention to. So here where we live, we've had success with growing a lot of different plants for food. Bananas and platanos grow very well here. They seem to just kind of keep reproducing on their own. They have what are called ehos, where these baby ones pop up. And so it's just a self-renewing source of food, and it's native here, so it doesn't really require any maintenance or minimal maintenance, I would say. Raspberries, black raspberries that are called zasamoras, grow very well here. They produce year-round, more strongly during certain times of the year, but every day you can have raspberries here. The place where we're at, it's very interesting. The altitude's around 3,000 feet, so you can grow high altitude crops and you can also grow low altitude crops. It's that perfect in the middle. So for instance, pineapples and coconuts grow here as well. They tend to like warmer weather. They grow slowly here, but they taste better than they do in the warm weather regions. It's worth the wait. And then things that require high altitude, like coffee. We have lots of coffee that is grown here, organic, shade coffee, very delicious. And it as well can grow here, even though it's normally for higher altitudes. We're high enough that it thrives here. It does very well. Basically, just about any plant you want to grow that doesn't require a frost season will do well here, as long as it gets enough sun and you have the right nutrients in the soil. If you're interested in moving to Panama, my advice first of all would be to come out, to stay for as long as you can before you move here. See the different areas. It takes some time to experience all of Panama. And then, as I said, it can help if you can find someone trustworthy that can help give you different information about what processes you'll go through here that can help you through it, someone that's gone through it before. So it's really helpful to make friends here, to have someone that's gone through it. And then otherwise, I would say my biggest advice to you is to go for it. If you're a little concerned, you're thinking it's the right move to make, but sometimes people just don't want to take that jump. I can tell you that coming to Panama was one of the best decisions we've made in our life. And we've made a lot of mistakes along the way too, but even those, we've learned from them, and we've grown a lot. So much in the last 2 years, more so maybe in our whole lives before that. So the good, the bad, everything that you experience here, I really recommend that if you think that it might be the right place for you, that don't be hesitant to jump in. So just a few other things to share, just in general in terms of the differences here. I mentioned kind of a more laid-back culture. In terms of what you're used to in terms of foods and products, there's a close connection with the United States. You can get pretty much anything that you would find anywhere in the US. You can get it here as well. Sometimes you have to drive a little bit to find the places that have it and then stock up on it. But it is pretty easy to get the things that you're used to in the US. It's just the culture and the language, of course, are the things that will be the most different.